Hi, sorry to bother you. I'm at the Hamilton Go bus terminal and the fare machine is asking for exact change. I've only got a 20 and my card keeps getting declined, so I'm stuck.
I don't work here, but I take this route a lot. If your card was declined, it might be a tap reader malfunction. Have you tried the other kiosk by the doors? It sometimes works when the first one's down.
I tried the one near Bay Street. It flashed an error and then reset. If it's actually out of service, I'll miss the 5:10 to Toronto.
If you miss that one, there's usually another at 5:30, but it can get packed. For exact change, the coffee place sometimes gives change if you buy something small, though they prioritize customers, so be quick and polite.
That makes sense. I've only got a water bottle in my bag, but I could grab a muffin and ask. If they can't, is there any other option?
There's also a customer service counter near Platform 3. If the machine was malfunctioning, they can sometimes issue a paper transfer or tell you which kiosk is functioning.
Okay, I'll try the counter first, then the cafe. If I'd brought smaller bills, I wouldn't be doing this last-minute scramble.
Totally. Go now. If you head straight past the digital board, you'll see the counter. Good luck catching that 5:10.
Question number 1. Why is Jason having trouble paying his fare? Question number 2. What solution does Emily suggest first that could fix the issue without needing change? Question number 3. What can be inferred about Emily's attitude toward helping Jason?
Thanks again, I made the 5:10. Now I'm in Toronto's path and I'm completely turned around. The signs say Financial District, but I need the exit closest to Union Station without popping out on the wrong side.
No worries. If you're in path, the easiest reference point is the blue Union wayfinding signs. If you follow those, you'll end up near the Go concourse. Which landmark do you see? Food court, TD Center, or the big directory map?
I'm beside a directory, and it shows multiple corridors. I was trying to reach Bay Street, but I might have taken a connector tunnel that looped me back. If I'd paid attention earlier, I wouldn't be doubling back.
That happens because some corridors look identical. Use the directories you are here dot, then take the corridor labeled to Union. When the route splits, choose the one marked accessible, since it's usually the main passage and less confusing.
Got it. I also see an exit sign for street level. Should I just go up and reorient, or stay underground?
Stay underground for now. Street exits can put you blocks away. If the signage were clearer, you'd be fine, but it's inconsistent. Head toward Union first, then choose the Bay Street side once you're at the station.
Okay, Union first, then Bay Street side. I'll follow the accessible route and watch for the blue signs.
Perfect. If you reach the Go concourse, you're basically there. From that point, the Bay Street doors are clearly labeled.
Question number 4. What is Emily's main strategy for helping Jason navigate the path? Question number 5. Why does Emily recommend choosing the corridor marked accessible when the route splits? Question number 6. What can be inferred about the path signage from Emily's comments?
Emily, quick update. I'm actually flying to Vancouver tonight for a conference. I'm at a TransLink customer service office now, and I don't want to mess up the fare rules. Do off-peak fares apply on SkyTran the way they do on some buses?
In Metro Vancouver, it's mostly zone-based rather than off-peak. On SkyTrain, if you travel across zones on weekdays before 6:30 p.m., you're charged by zones. After 6:30 and on weekends, it's typically treated as one zone, which is kind of like off-peak pricing.
So if I go from downtown to Richmond after 6:30, it should be cheaper than doing it at 5:30. If I'd scheduled my hotel check-in later, I could have saved without stressing.
Exactly. Also, Sea Island, the airport, counts as an extra ad fare for some trips. If your Compass card was registered, you can check your trip history, which is useful if a gate malfunction causes a wrong charge.
Good to know. The clerk here said something about an ad fare, but I didn't catch when it applies. I'll register my card so I can dispute anything if needed.
Smart. Ask them to confirm the airport ad fare and the 6:30 cutoff in writing on the brochure. That way, if you were misinformed, you'd have proof.
Question number 8. Which statement best reflects how off-peak works in Vancouver Transit, based on Emily's explanation? Question number 9. Image-based. Which brochure cover is Jason most likely being told to ask for, based on the conversation?
Hey, Priya, good timing. I was just checking the forecast on my phone. They're calling for a heavy dump overnight, plus that freezing rain that turns the sidewalks into a skating rink.
I saw that. If it hits like last month, the back lane will be a mess. I'm trying to be proactive, but my old shovel is starting to malfunction. Its handle keeps twisting, like it's about to snap.
If you'd bought the metal one when it was on sale, it wouldn't be wobbling now. Third conditional aside, you can still grab one today. Canadian Tire on St. James had stock yesterday.
Good to know. I'm also debating salt versus sand. Salt works fast, but I'm worried it'll corrode the concrete steps, and my neighbor's dog walks right past my porch.
Yeah, plus it can be tracked indoors and wreck the entryway. I usually do a mix, sand for traction, and a pet-safe de-icer where it's a priority, like the front walk and the mailbox route.
That makes sense. Also, the condo board sent a notice that the contractor's schedule was changed, so the parking lot might not be plowed until late morning. It's frustrating, but I get it.
Ugh, that's rough. If the plow comes late, the snow will be packed down by cars and basically be cement. We should shovel early, even if it's still coming down.
Could we coordinate? If we clear the shared sidewalk together, it'll go faster. I don't want anyone slipping, and I'd feel awful if someone got hurt because it wasn't maintained.
Absolutely. I'll do a first pass around 7 a.m., then again after lunch if it keeps drifting. And I've got an extra ice scraper and a small bag of grit you can borrow.
Thanks, that's a lifesaver. I'll pick up a sturdier shovel and pet-safe de-icer today. If the storm ends up being milder, at least we'll be prepared, and if it's worse, we won't be scrambling.
Question number 1. Why does Priya mention her shovel malfunctioning? Question number 2. What solution does Evan suggest for dealing with icy surfaces? Question number 3. What can be inferred about why Evan wants to shovel early, even if snow is still falling? Question number 4. What is the condo board notice, mainly telling Priya? Question number 5. Which relationship is most likely between Evan and Priya?
Hi Maya, I'm double-checking our Toronto Parks permit for the reunion at High Park. Some conditions look strict, and I don't want any surprises on the day.
Good call, because permits are usually written broadly so staff can enforce them. If anything were misunderstood, we could lose the damage deposit, which is our biggest risk.
The permit says our priority is keeping pathways clear and limiting noise, especially near the playground. It also mentions that propane barbecues are allowed, but charcoal might be restricted.
Yes, and the restriction is usually seasonal, because dry weather increases fire risk. If we had brought charcoal and an officer had checked, we'd have been asked to shut it down immediately.
I'm also worried about equipment malfunction, like if the propane regulator fails and we have to troubleshoot. The rules say all fuel must be stored safely and never left unattended.
Let's assign someone as the barbecue monitor, which is a role the city likes to see. The grill area has to be set up where it won't block access, and a fire extinguisher should be kept nearby.
Great, I'll bring an extinguisher and a small first aid kit, even though it isn't required. Another clause says waste must be packed out, because extra garbage bags aren't guaranteed.
That's important, because the cleanup condition is often what the deposit depends on. If the site were left messy, the fee could be withheld, even if everything else went perfectly.
About sound, it says no amplified music unless an exception is granted, which we didn't request. I guess we should avoid bringing a speaker, even a small Bluetooth one.
Agreed, and we can plan low-key activities, like lawn games, so nobody feels it's a boring event. The permit also notes that alcohol is prohibited unless a separate license is obtained.
One more thing, it mentions the booking time includes setup and teardown, so we can't assume extra minutes. If we'd scheduled it tighter, we would have risked being charged for overtime.
Then we'll start earlier and keep the schedule realistic, which should keep staff on our side. I'll email a summary to the family so the rules are followed by everyone, not just us.
Question number 1. What is the main purpose of Ravi and Maya's conversation? Question number 2. Which type of barbecue setup do they conclude is safest to use under the permit? Question number 3. What does Maya suggest to reduce the risk of losing the damage deposit? Question number 4. What can be inferred about the park's enforcement style based on Maya's comments? Question number 5. Why do Ravi and Maya decide not to bring a Bluetooth speaker? Question number 6. What does the statement about booking time including setup and teardown imply they should do?
Good evening. The City of Regina says it will open 2 newly renovated outdoor pools 1 week earlier than planned, after Environment and Climate Change Canada forecast a weekend heatwave with daytime highs nearing 33 degrees and humidex values closer to 38. City officials confirmed that Lawson Aquatic Center and Maple Grove Pool will begin public swims starting Saturday at 10 a.m., with extended evening hours through Monday. The move follows concerns raised by public health staff, who warned that prolonged heat can be dangerous for seniors, young children, and people with chronic conditions, especially in neighborhoods where tree cover is limited. Cooling stations at select libraries and community centers will also be activated, and water will be distributed free of charge at city-run recreation sites. Although the pools were scheduled to open next weekend, the city said staffing was reallocated on a priority basis, and final safety inspections were completed today. Residents are being asked to expect longer lineups, since capacity will be capped to meet lifeguard-to-swimmer ratios. Officials added that if the heat persists, additional spray pads may be kept running later into the evening. Anyone feeling unwell is urged to seek shade, hydrate frequently, and check on neighbors who could be vulnerable. Okay, since we're already stuck near the copy area while the printer warms up, can we settle the archiving plan? The shared drive is chaotic, and the physical folders are overflowing. If we don't rotate responsibilities, whoever remembers last ends up doing it, and that's not fair.
I'm on board, but we need something realistic. Last month the scanner had a malfunction, and half the PDFs were corrupted, so the quick archive turned into a full redo. If we create a rotation, it should include time buffers and a clear priority list for what gets archived first.
Agreed, and we also need a standard naming convention, otherwise searching becomes impossible. I'd suggest a template like client name, project code, and close date, which would be consistent across departments. If the files were tagged properly, the next person in the rotation wouldn't waste time guessing.
I like structure, but I don't want a plan that's so complicated nobody follows it. Honestly, Ethan, when the scanner broke, it felt like an excuse to delay. If we had archived weekly, we wouldn't have been scrambling at month end, which is exactly what I'm trying to avoid.
That's fair, and I'm not trying to dodge work. I just think accountability should be shared. If the device malfunctions again, the person assigned that week shouldn't be blamed for missing targets. We could add a checkpoint where someone else verifies a sample of files before boxes are sealed.
What if the rotation is simple but still controlled? One person is archiver for the week, another is reviewer, and the third is runner who labels boxes and updates the log. That way, even if something goes sideways, there's redundancy and the workload is distributed.
That's actually workable. We can do it in 3-week cycles, since there are 3 of us. Also, certain folders should be prioritized, anything tied to compliance audits or funding reports. If those were misplaced, we'd be in trouble, and the consequences would land on the whole team.
Let's also specify the done definition, scanned, saved to the correct client directory, and the paper file either boxed or shredded according to policy. If we'd had that last quarter, we wouldn't have ended up with half-archived projects. And I can draft a checklist people initial.
I'll create the naming convention document and a quick reference sheet to tape beside the copier. It can include metadata tags, like contract, invoice, or final report. If someone were to ignore the convention, it would be obvious during review, so the system nudges compliance.
Good. One more thing, time. I propose we block 30 minutes every Friday afternoon, which would be protected time unless there's a client emergency. If we didn't reserve it, meetings would swallow it. Are we all willing to treat that as a standing commitment?
Yes, as long as we can swap weeks when someone's on deadline. If I'm presenting to the execs, I'd rather trade responsibilities than do a rushed job. We can log swaps in the spreadsheet so it stays transparent, and nobody feels stuck with extra work.
Deal. So, weekly rotation with archiver, reviewer, runner, a priority list for audit-sensitive folders, a checklist with initials, and Friday time blocks, with documented swaps. I'll set up the shared tracker today. Once it's in place, we should see fewer missing folders and less stress.
Good evening. I'm speaking today as a housing advocate in Toronto, where the debate over rent control has become as urgent as the search for a vacant apartment. Rent control, in its simplest form, limits how much landlords can increase rent each year, and it is often framed as a tool for stability. Still, not everyone agrees it helps in the long run, and the strongest arguments come from three distinct viewpoints. First, tenants groups argue that rent control is a necessary safeguard. They point out that wages rarely rise as quickly as rents, and that households facing abrupt increases may be displaced from their neighborhoods, forcing longer commutes and disrupting children's schooling. From this perspective, rent control is a priority because it reduces volatility, helping renters plan and preventing what some call rent-evictions, where units are renovated and then repriced beyond reach. Second, many small landlords, especially those with one or two properties, say the policy can backfire. They argue that when operating costs climb, but rent increases are capped, maintenance gets deferred and building quality deteriorates. Some also claim that if stricter rules were imposed without flexibility, they would have less incentive to keep units on the long-term rental market. In other words, if regulations became too rigid, some suites might be converted to short-term rentals or sold to owner-occupiers. Third, economists and some municipal planners raise a broader supply concern. They suggest that rent control can suppress new construction if developers anticipate limited returns, particularly for purpose-built rentals. They often propose an alternative, targeted subsidies and faster approvals, so that supply expands. Their logic is that if more housing were built, especially near transit, competition would moderate rents without heavy-handed price caps. Where does that leave us? In my view, the real question is design. A policy that is applied indiscriminately may create unintended consequences, but a carefully calibrated approach, paired with enforcement against illegal evictions and with incentives for new builds, could protect current tenants while still encouraging supply. If governments had streamlined permitting years ago, we might not be relying so heavily on rent control today. The challenge is balancing immediate security with the long-term health of the housing system.